in the media conference with Lal Goyal, which is brought to you by V4 News, Global TV, V4 Stream, Malnadu TV, News Gaon Se, Samvad Sarokar News, Organ Donation India Foundation, and Gyan. Our endeavor is to enlighten you on the current topics. But today our topic is not correct. It is a historic topic. And we would like to discuss this today. And the topic is, does Indus Valley heritage belong to Hindus? The Indus Valley civilization, IVC, was a Bronze Age civilization in the northwestern region of South Asia, lasting from 3300 BC to 1300 BCE, and in its mature form from 2600 BCE to 1900 BCE. Together with ancient Egypt and Mesopotamia, it was one of three early civilizations of the Near East and South Asia, and of the three, the most widespread, its sites spanning an area stretching from northeast Afghanistan through much of Pakistan and into western and northwestern India. It flourished in the basins of the Indus River, which flows through the length of Pakistan and along its system of perennial, mostly monsoon-fed rivers that once coursed in the vicinity of the seasonal Ghaggar Hakra River in northwest India and eastern Pakistan. The civilization's cities were noted for their urban planning, baked brick houses, elaborate drainage systems, water supply systems, clusters of large non-residential buildings, and new techniques in handicraft, carnelian products, seal carving, and metallurgy, copper, bronze, lead, and tin. The large cities of Mohenjo-daro and Harappa very likely grew to containing between 30,000 and 60,000 individuals, and the civilization itself, during its florescence, many have contained between 1 and 5 million individuals. The Indus civilization is also known as the Harappan civilization after its type site, Harappa, the first of its sites to be excavated early in the 20th century in what was then the Punjab province of British India and now is Pakistan. The discovery of Harappa and soon afterwards Mohenjo-daro was the culmination of work beginning in 1861 with the founding of the Archaeological Survey of India during the British Raj. There were, however, earlier and later cultures often called early Harappan and late Harappans in the same area. For this reason, the Harappan civilization is sometimes called the mature Harappan to distinguish it from these other cultures. By 2002, over 1,000 mature Harappan cities and settlements had been reported, of which just under 100 had been excavated. However, there are only 5 major urban sites such as Harappa, Mohenjo-daro, Dholavira, Ganriwala in Kolistan and Rakhigadi. The early Harappan cultures were preceded by local Neolithic agricultural villages for which the river plains were populated. The Harappan language is not directly attested and its affiliation is uncertain since the Indus script is still undeciphered. A relationship with the Dravidian or Elmo-Dravidian language family is favored by a section of scholars. Today, we have a very elite panel with us. We have one historian and another one, although by profession, he is a cancer specialist, but his interest is in the Indus Valley and he has done lots of research. So we would like to try to gain knowledge, try to understand whether the Indus Valley heritage belongs to Hindus or not. I would like to invite my first guest. He is Dr. Puneet Gupta. He is MBBS, MD, DNB, DM. He is a cancer specialist in a very reputed hospital in Delhi, but he is also the founder of mdspiritualbiology.com and puneetcodeindus.com, New Delhi. He has been publishing his work on Indus Valley for last 8 years. He had grown as an ideologist of repute in solving the enigma of Indus Valley related objects like Cloudron, priest statue, Indus Valley deities depicted on seals, and as well as the Indus inscription. His breakthrough in exactly cracking the Cloudron that is seen in more than half the Indus seals in front of Bull has been accepted as the most relevant find. The works of earlier known authorities, including Mr. M.S. Watts, Mr. John Marshall of London, Mr. Ira Watham Mahadevan, was unable to address obvious finds. He has undertaken the 10,000 US dollar prize challenge of farmer Steve for decipherment of Indus script. This year, 2020 being that 100th year of Indus Valley discovery in 1920, he is planning for a keyboard and software for Indus writing, compendium and dictionary so as to enable artificial intel to be used in team to help collect Indus inscription. The decipherment is throughout the globe so that the very first mother tongue of human civilization is available to all human across the globe. He has worked on a hypothesis of deciphering Indus inscription down to the level of identifying actual vowel and consonants rather than decoding them as pictures or meaning or ribus. His hypothesis of decipherment of vowels and consonants is based on human biology of phonation and articulation of human speech and is likely to reveal what has been actually written rather than postulating indirect meaning on 10,000 USD challenge seal, Dholavira board, Israel Hafia ship wrenched in slabs, and also table of lion. He found a breakthrough that Indus deity Dattatreya Hari is closely related with speech, phonation, and articulation. Also, the Dattatreya Hari tradition has continued from 7000 BC to till date by means of the Dattatreya Yoga that encompass both Vedic as well as Tantric ancient teachings. The tradition transfers Hari awareness to deserving practitioner of Dattatreya. Avadhut Gita and later Ramayana and recent Gita follow exactly the same 6 levels of spiritual awareness, vocabulary of Sar, Akshar, Pra, Avadhut, Puran, Brahm, Nirvan. Dr. Puneet Gupta's next breakthrough is decoding the Kartikeya and 7 Kartikas seals depicted Kartikeya as a main war deity of Indus Valley throughout North and South India, as was continued to be given patronage by Gupta kings of 600 AD and South India Chola kings. Single horn and unicorn bull has been decoded not as a mythological animal, rather celestial sky related Taurus constellation, as majority of vernal equinox of Indus Valley happened in Taurus constellation of Hindu Vrish Rashi. Priest kings of that era decoded as important disciple of Dattatreya Hari like King Yadu, King Kirti Virya, Arjun, and Hari Bhrishma Kshatriya Parshuram, the one that had encounter with Lord Ram after breaking arrow of Shiva. He cracked the first seal, Indus medical seal, that detailed the procedure of delivery under blessings from GT of safe delivery. With his breakthrough results, he firmly believed that Indus Valley civilization was well spread throughout North and South India. Indus Valley heritage has percolated from a Proto-Brahmi text into Sanskrit as well as in the Tamil, Telugu, Marathi, Rajasthani, Punjabi, Indo-Greek, Indo-Iran, Indo-European culture of current day with same characters and vocabulary, especially Vaishnav deity Dattatreya and Shiva's son Kartikeya, as well as it was shown by Dr. Puneet code breakthrough work on Indus Valley Civilization, puneetcodeindus.com. Now I would like to invite Dr. Puneet Gupta to give his views and presentation. Dr. Puneet Gupta, please.
Thank you, and I welcome everyone. And I must appreciate Ranjana ji for such a wonderful introduction and telling more about history. And now I will tell more about not the history of the history, but the breakthrough in the history. So what I am doing it as a doctor, medical doctor, I am doing with Indus Valley Civilization more on research bearing, especially speech, phonation, articulation. And you very well know that the challenge has been there of deciphering the Indus script. Now I call, as Professor Ranjana has already introduced, I call this as the Saraswati, Indus, Godavari, Ganga, Yamuna, but that I call it as Sighi Valley civilization rather than just Indus Valley, because this civilization was not actually linked to Indus alone, but it was linked to other rivers of India, including Saraswati, Godavari, Ganga, Yamuna, and above all, Indus. So I call it Sighi, the living legend, because we will find that even till date, we are, still continuing the tradition. So what I have been lucky enough to do around 10 years of my original work on Sighi, and I have encoded very many enigmas, and especially the most important is to understand is the Indus god, what we usually tell otherwise is he is Lord Dattatreya. So this Lord Dattatreya finding is very, very important, rather than just naming him Pashupati by finding just the animals around him. It is a very, I will say, simplistic explanation, which nobody should digest easily, because just telling that if somebody shows animals around, and you'll be surprised to hear the history of this, which I will deal in detail later on, but I'll just tell you what breakthroughs have been there. Second is, this is again, you see Dattatreya, Lord Dattatreya is sitting, and this is the, above all, is the mantra. I'm not going to discuss more about the script, because otherwise the time is very short. So I will just tell what is the now the figurine of the Indus seal. Today we will focus on that, and the script part we will, what I have deciphered in the script part we will discuss sometime later. Then the third seal, if you see again, here you will find that the same three-headed deity, the Dattatreya Lord, is sitting there, and he is served. You can see he is served in the nectar, and what we say, the som, he is served here with two girls here. Two ladies are serving the Dattatreya, the som ras. Now, if we see this, again, very, very important to know what I have deciphered in this. You see the same Dattatreya Maharaj is sitting here, and this is a kind of a samadhi posture. We will discuss about the asana and the posture and the what we say, the triple headgear. He is, notice the triple headgear he is wearing, and this is the especially a very well designed tool which we call as the Vajra. So this is the Vajra which is holding, and this is the, you be very well know, the buffalo is linked with the Lord of Death, that we know the Vedic deity that is known as Yama. So Yama, and as Dr. Mishra has already highlighted, the crocodile. Crocodile is associated with the river, and I will discuss more in detail. Actually, all these are related in another sense also, and that will be very interesting, but that I have deciphered in a different tone. And let's see again, the triple-headed deity is sitting, Dattatreya Maharaj is sitting in this copper plate, and same cauldron you are sitting in front, which is the upper lid is missing. And this is how this again is showing Lord Dattatreya. So now we will see Dattatreya sitting in this particular asana. Very many people name this asana as wrongly, and they sometimes call it Padamasan, sometimes they could misname it by different names. But if you go into detail, it is actually known as Goraksha Asan. So Goraksha Asan is the asan which is mentioned in our ancient text and in ancient Hindu text, and this has a very special characteristic. If you see from the back, it is not that you are sitting on the ground, you have to lift up your buttocks off the ground. So that is a very, very specialty. The side pose, the all weight over the thighs and heels. And this is how this posture is very important. So until unless you are really know about Gorakshasana, you are very likely to miss it with some lotus posture or other asanas. But this is the Goraksh Asana. So Dattatreya, now if we see, he was as a teacher to Parshurama and also the king Kirtavira Arjuna. This is a very well known in various texts, and we understand that he was in a state what we call as the Sthit Pragya or Avdut, or in the Paramatma stage, just before what we say this is the level above which we achieve resurrection or nirvana. So in this seal, particular seal, if you see, in which the animals are shown, and we will discuss detail about this, but this we have to look in a very different milieu, because if we notice the triple heads here are the three deities, Brahma, Vishnu and Mahesh, and not only Pashupati. So this is how this is interpretation is different, and this is the, as I have told you already, the mantra written for the Dattatreya mantra, which is very prominent even in today's temples. It is what I say, it is recited, and it is basically kind of a mental mantra also. Sometimes you don't recite them, you just recite them inside the brain. So these triple heads, people mistake it for a single god. They say it is Pashupati, but Pashupati is, you are not identifying the deity. In Hindu deities, the identification is really complex, and we cannot make a simple assumption. Here, this is actually the 3-in-1. 3-in-1 means here we have the Brahma, Mahesh and Vishnu. So all three deities, when the power is what we say, it is like conglomerated. It is like a seed power. Let's say in the seed power, we say the tree comes out of the seed, the root comes from the same part, stem comes from the same part, and the leaf also comes from the same part. So all these three deities, we very well know in Hindi Trinity, they are responsible for generation of the cosmic scenario, cosmic bodies, maintenance, and then the dissolution. So all these three, they originate from the seed form, is known as Dattatreya principle. Now you don't have to understand these as some person with three heads, but you have to understand some person with the power of all the three deities. So this is how this is known as Dattatreya principle, or I will call it Dattatreya tradition. It is not Dattatreya in persona, but any person can have. It's like a degree. Let's say if I qualify as a doctor, I can earn the Dattatreya degree. And if somebody else also qualify with that power of all the three deities, that deity will be known as Dattatreya. Just like we have, let's say, Hari. So if there's a Hari Rama, Hari Krishna, Hari Dattatreya, Hari Narayana. So like that, Dattatreya is also mentioned as Hari Dattatreya or Hari Narayana or Hari Rama, Hari Krishna. So same principle is following with this deity. So that's the real decipherment. And then the next tradition. In those times, if you want to know about the Indus gods and their traditions, we say that there was no powerful king. No, that's wrong. In Indus civilization, the tradition was very strong that these Dattatreya principal personas, they used to now guide the what we say, the kings of that time, how they should be ruling the kingdom, how they should bringing the prosperity, and also at the same time the spiritual wisdom to the population. So that's very, very important. The spiritual wellness was imbibed into the social structure, and this was done through the Dattatreya principal personas. Now we very well know the Parshurama. Parshurama is very well documented to be a disciple, and the Dattatreya used to have three kings as the disciples, and also the Parshurama. Parshurama, we very know, is very well linked with the his enlightenment from the Lord Dattatreya. So when he goes to Dattatreya, this seal actually deciphers that scenario. Once he goes for that, okay, you please accept me as your disciple, then that is a very nice story which is written that when he goes, he finds Dattatreya to be busy drinking wine and two ladies are serving wine. So he says, what kind of guru he is? Shall I adopt this guy as my guru? So they say, then he say, no, no, no. See, he just thinks of his guru. He say, my guru has actually told me to go to the next level guru and then get training from him, because my guru has evaluated him. I am nobody. Even if I think he's drinking, he may be doing something else and he's just trying to fool me off. So he say, okay, Dattatreya, sir, I don't think so. I am perturbed by your this drinking wine and the ladies by your side, and they are sitting beside you and serving you alcohol. I'm not taken away by that. So I just want my spiritual training from you. So this is how Dattatreya, Lord then gives him the mantra of what we say, the Adi Shakti, the primordial goddess of creation. That is what we call as Tripura Sundari. So in Tripura Sundari mantra is given to Parshuramji, and this mantra he goes and recite in a special location. That mountain is there and that location is there. He goes there and he masters that mantra and get lot of spiritual powers. So this is even now tradition. We know, we just not imagine this as a, as I have already told, there's the three-headed man and just some ghostly thing. No, this is a kind of a Dattatreya principle, the seed power of all the three deities of a Hindu trinity. Now, next thing what I have deciphered in the Indus medical seal. You will be surprised what is written here, because I'm telling of what is written on the seal, but I'm not discussing about the script now. I'm not breaking through the script. But what I want to tell you, if you see carefully in this seal, two lines are shown here. Two lines are fighting by themselves, but what is missing? If you see another Indus seal, there is shown these two tigers are standing, and one deity, one goddess, she is, I will say this lady deity is actually holding these tigers. But now here what has happened? That lady has set them free and they are fighting of their own. And this is, she is delivering actually a baby. It is not a plant. People have misinterpreted it as a plant. If you see, this is shown as 4 limbs. A human embryo has 4 limbs. And in this text, it is very clearly written about that during the delivery, umbilical cord will come out. If you see this picture very clearly, this is the first medical Indus seal. You can imagine that around 4,000-5,000 years back, they have deciphered that when they deliver, their umbilical cord will come out. So this is how the umbilical cord will come out. And these are 2 eye-like structures. So eye and the upper limb and lower limb. So because if you see a child deliver, it is like a flaccid. They just swamp on the, on the flap, because there is no muscle tone. So this is not a plant. This is a newly delivered baby. And this is telling the goddess who is responsible for the creation. So this is how it is shown. And in the script, it is very well written that while you deliver a baby, you clench your teeth and you emit a very, harsh sound, and one of the baby come out with the umbilical cord. So don't leave the placenta inside. That is the teaching in this industry. So this is first training when they train their ladies, that be careful, don't leave placenta inside. And even in fact, they have identified that what is the character of umbilical cord, but I will not dwell more on that. So this is how. And we know in our tradition, there is a goddess who is responsible for safe delivery of the kids. Now comes the, and there are temples. If you will be shocked that we are still continuing that kind of, Indus culture indirectly, because this goddess temple is there, right there in South India. So newborn with 2 eyes and 4 limbs with umbilical cord. So now let's go to my next breakthrough. Now the Vedic architecture, I don't think so we have to really discuss Aryans and this and that theory is going for too long and too harsh and too many comments. I think my simple architectural layout put rest to that all theories. Because if you see, this is a satellite picture I have taken of the Indus Valley and the Great Water Bath. If you see, this is the Great Water Bath here, and this is the stupa, and all around this is for circumvention. Just we take a roundel of the temple, this is what we call as circumvention. So one circumvention you take around the temple, and this is the Great Water Bath. It is oriented in north-south axis. You know, in Hindu culture, the north is the purest side and south is the non-auspicious or the unpurest side. So you enter from the south in the ceremony, have the holy dip here, and you go to the north side, and after the holy bath and after the holy what we say, the transformation from south to north, then you get up and take to do the circumvention of this. And this is percolated on all the religion. It's not only in Hinduism, I will say. It is there in Makkah, Medina. We go, we do the circumvention. In any temple, you know, Akshardham we go, we do the circumvention. This is a known thing in all the cultures. So this is how it has percolated. These ancient things are percolated into our, you know, brain and systems. So if you see the latest Vedic temple of the Akshardham, Delhi, you see this is the water body here. What we can say, the latest water bath there, where they do the laser show. And here is the stupa. The main stupa is there, and this is the for circumvention. So you see the all water body. There's a water body all around, and then this is the entry and same design. This is the very same Vedic architecture. So this is how simply you can prove by the degree of, because if you know the in Vedic system, the wherever there used to happen the equinox, the door used to be there. And you know the equinox degree, 1 degree will change every 72 years. So the difference between this door and the Mohenjo-daro door, stupa, the stupa door here, if you will see the circumvention here, this is the opening is here. If you see, this is the circumvention area, and this is most broader here because many people will accumulate here. So here the direction is here. If you just calculate the difference in the angle, so 1 degree difference is equal to 72 years. This is simple astrology, and you can calculate by this that this Vedic temple was made almost, let's say, 4,000 years back. So this is how we can just calculate by Vedic calculation. These things were known to Vedic design. This is all Vedic, design is there. Now come back to the Indra priest. I have already told that this Indra priest, if you see very carefully, you can say this is the third eye is here. And if you see the amulet, as Dr. Mishra has already told, that this is the one amulet is there. And if you see very, very carefully, there is a small punch. There are holes in his dress area. And if you see, there is a hole in the third eye also. So this was not simple hole. They are holes for the diamonds. They are the hole for the costly stones. What the people have done, they have taken them away. And what you are seeing actually is not the real priest king which was there. People have taken away that jewelry. They have stolen away those diamonds. They have stolen away that costly gemstones. And what is left with is this naked, I will say this is the naked king priest. And as I told you, Dattatreya principle, these people were, kings were blessed. And that's why they wear the jewel here, because this is the representative of Bhrikuti. It is not, people sometimes say wrongly, no, this third eye means Shiva. He is Shiva. No, he is not Shiva. This is a tradition. Third eye is, that is the Shiva power. But in Dattatreya principle, as I told you, there is a power of Brahma, Shiva and Vishnu as well. So all the 3 deities, they have the power, what do I say, conglomerated power in this model. And these kings, they used to have all the power which are shown by amulet here and amulet here. And also on the dress code, if you see in the dress, this is for the costly gems. And these are the costly gem studies. This actually used to be looked like this. And this is the statue of a priest. This is not that they were the priests. They say there were no temple, there were no priests, there were no kings. And these things were happening automatically out of the blue. And they were happening by some, what we say, alien technology. And I say this is nothing alien here. This is all ancient Hindu technology. And this is ancient Vedic technology. There is nothing, I will say, alien here. And if you see this at the back of this again a knot, this area is known as Trikuti. So this knot symbolizes Trikuti. And again, if you see carefully, the dress is studded with same those diamonds there and the costly jewels. And if you see the same headgear in the, even for in Christianity, these headgears are shown for all the enlightened people. This slanting, if you see the slanting head here, and if you see the slanting done here, this is all will tell you the story. This is all tell you the activation of what we say at the chakra at the back. This is known as, if you see, go to the tantric tradition, this is known as kilak. So this is when the spiritual activation happens. There will be a feeling like whirl, as if some chakki is revolving, as if there is a kind of a whirl there, or a fan is moving. Those time fan was not there, so they used to call it like a whirl or like a chakki. Kabir call it like a chakki is activated. So let's say there's a chalti chakki de ke diya Kabira Roy. So this is like that whirl like sitting is feeling is there, and this is known as kilak. If you go to the this Kriya Yoga people, they will tell you what kilak is there, and they will tell you the exact location of the kilak is here. And this tradition has been carried out. If you see in all the crowns, this area of kilak is highlighted. If you see all the again, whether it is Jain tradition, it is Buddha tradition, or it is any religion tradition, if you see the Lord Buddha here, again is shown with the same thing of the kilak happening, and at the same site it is there. Now, the breakthrough of the Indus cauldron. Many people, they were amazed. They were used to tell this is for making alcohol, or it is making soam, what they call it's like a mini alcohol factory. No, that was not true. If you see, it is clearly shown, there are some canals are shown here, and these canals, and a large handle is there. And if you see, this is the size of the cauldron size has to be a big one, because the size will be as good as, you can say, a small dustbin like structure what we have nowadays, the large dustbins which we use. This is for those dustbins size thing is there, and it is with the handle, and the designs are there. Now if you see the same cauldron which I have decoded, this same cauldron is there, and you see there's the upper lid, lower lid, the handle is there, and the canals. You have to see very carefully and this is made up of silver, and you can see base is so big. You see the base, how beautifully it is made. And then this same base, if you see, I have shown, if you remember the copper plate I have shown you, the Dattatreya personality is sitting there, and the cauldron is there in front of him. They have drawn the half cauldron till here. So they have drawn the half cauldron, and the base is made very nicely. This vertical rod is made very nicely, and the lower half is shown. But if you see the cartoon I am showing you here, in this and this is again, it is a published thing. This thing has been published, and my work was cited by another author, and he has told that he agrees in principle with this model, and this is the best kind of understanding we can have. You can see the handle, and you can see the design here, and you can see the smoke. Why the smoke is only coming from the lower pot? So I have shown my pot in pot model, that because the pot which gives smoke is actually inside this cauldron, that I will show you detail at this one. Yes, if you see, the smoke comes only from the lower side and not from the upper lid, because the source of the smoke, this I have called pot in pot model. So in pot model, this wood which cause the smoke, it can have medicinal value. In old times, if you remember, you go to for any puja, or you go to a palace, or you go to a king palace, so they will first, and there is an important meeting, so they will first sterilize to shoo away the mosquitoes or the flies. So they will do it with the kind of a smoke. So there can be a medicinal smoke which is irritable, and then they can use, smoke is also used if there are fleas, in the dogs or cats or the other animals, fleas are there, so they also do the smoke treatment. So smoke has been mastered, the herbs have been mastered by our ancient Ayurvedic tradition since long. So this is an indirect application of that. But this cauldron is made up of silver or gold. That's why it was shown on seals. If it could have been a simple thing, nobody will take so much pain to draw it so nicely, wonderfully on the Indus seal. See, you can understand now my point, that why this cauldron is drawn with so much enthusiasm, because it is used for the kings, it is used for in important celebrations, and it is an important tool which is made up of silver and gold, and these things were not easy to isolate in those times. So this is how this has been a very, very good Ayurvedic or Hindu tradition of this smoke like thing, and which, you know, even in temples today, when we meditate, we worship, we have to have incense, we have to have some, you know, in form of agarbatti. And this work has been quoted by the author J. Kumar Ramaswamy. He has published his work in academia.edu. This paper is available, and he has cited the incense burner and the Indus seal inscriptions. Jay Kumar, he has cited my work, that the Puneet Gupta. So you can see this, and he has given this picture also of pot in pot model. And this paper is available on academia.edu. You can go through that. This is the reference, reference given there, Gupta Puneet. So next, my breakthrough is the single horn bull. Now everybody, now they tell single horn bull does not exist. It is mythology. Indus people are talking of mythology. No, they are talking of space science. I may tell you, these people were very good in space study. They used to see the sky cyclical, what is cyclical events are happening through the sky. And they have made notion where the moon is going all around, where the sun is going all around, where the, you know, planets, 5 planets only are visible by the human naked eye. So they mentioned only of those 5 planets. They never mentioned of any other planet. Whosoever planets are visible, you know, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, only these 5 planets are visible to the human naked eye even today. And only these 5 planets are mentioned. Rest is only the sun and the moon. So they make the these 5 plus 7 and 2, the Rahu Ketu actually are the away and the toward movement. They are not, some people say Saturn and Neptune, no, they are away and towards movement of those planets. So this is very, very important to understand that single horn bull is a celestial bull, in the sense that they are celebrating and talking about the equinox, because if you calculate in around 3000 BC, the equinox used to happen in the when the sun was there in the what we say vernal equinox was there in the Taurus constellation. What is actually Taurus is a Greek word, but Indian counterpart used to be Vrishab. So this is known as Vrishab constellation. And you know, the Lord Vrishab of Jainism, he is very, very closely associated with this Vrishab. This Vrishab, actually the Vrishab, the first Trikantika of the Jainism, is very closely related with Taurus celebrations, timing, and Taurus equinox. So this is where I was discussing with the Taurus equinox. This used to happen, and this is how Taurus was positioned in the seal to celebrate to tell you about the equinox, when the equinox was actually happening, when the equinox was happening. So this is all astrology, you know, just to tell them. I'm not going to detail about the vernal oxes and not the autumn oxes in Taurus constellation, are when the around mature Indus phase of 3500 BC to 1500 BC. So these actually animals are depicting the very, very important. They are depicting the sky. Must remember, they are not mythological. They are not sacrifices. They are not killing animals. We have to understand. It is not only linked to killing animals. If they may be sacrificing, there are other rituals, but they are not associated with these seals. These seals actually are depicting us the astrology, the Hindu astrology, the knowledge of their sky, the wisdom about their sky. And you know, every society has some kind of exploitation. If they were doing sacrifice and all that, this is a different story. They have a different reason, and they have, some groups may have different interest, and they have to show power or impress upon, you know, the other people. But actually these seals, here you see this again, Dattatreya principle is in Samadhi, and here it is shown that this is the Yama, and buffalo is again is a symbolic of the astrology symbol, and it is showing the Siddha Asana Yogi and one person with Vajra tool killing buffalo. Wide horn buffalo associated with Lord of Death Yama. And this act signifies victory over death. Means if you have a Dattatreya principle, as I have already told you, you have the power of Lord Brahma, Vishnu and Mahesh, and you have empowered, you have crossed the death barrier. You are free, you are liberated, you achieve nirvana, or you achieve avdut status, or you achieve the what we call as the Jivan Mukta Avastha. So this is the symbolic representation of that power. Now,
Dr. Gupta, I think there is a time limitation now. Can we continue this program next week or sometime again?
Yeah, okay. So
because I think Dr. Mishra would like to ask a question to you in this. Dr. Mishra, would you like to ask any question to Dr. Gupta?
At the outset, I want to congratulate Dr. Puneet Gupta for giving wonderful presentation. But I have certain queries, like what you talk about Trinity, what you talk about, Dattatreya. Has it, like all these evidences, are they corroborated with some historical facts? Or because in social science, we all are free to go for our own interpretation. So I really appreciate that. But it has to be based on, like when we historian, we say, Pashupati or anything, we are not connecting it with, we are not saying he was Lord Shiva. We are saying Pashu, and then he is in the middle, so he is a Malik. He is the owner. So when you are connecting it with Dattatreya, because they came much later as we study. So what are the evidences? Like it's based on what all facts? Can you highlight on that?
Yeah, very nice. Thanks for that question, Dr. Ranjana. The important thing is Dattatreya, you see, literature comes very later. Here we have to appreciate one thing, that tradition may be very old, as you told, and we are missing the link in between because people have not studied the script. You will be shocked. His name is there. I'm not deciphering. I'm not revealing the script part.
But why, Dr. Gupta, when she's asking a question, what is the reservation if you just say that it is there?
I'll tell you. It is there. See, you understand first the point. My point is that first you have to understand the gap. I'm answering your question. First, there is a gap, means the Dattatreya tradition is, let's say, here, and timeline, and what has happened actually. Sadly, what has happened that the Dattatreya tradition has started here, but the document which we are getting here today, Dattatreya is still worshipped in India. It is worshipped in very many parts of Rajasthan, Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh, Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, and Himalayas, Nepal. He is still worshipped. But problem is there because just like we are missing the Indus script. So from here to here, Indus script, we see that Dattatreya name is not mentioned, but it is mentioned, number one. And number two, not only mentioned, it is, as I've told you, the seals are there, and not only one seal, not only 2, 3, 4. I have made a separate presentation. Actually, you have not given me the time. So there is a full 15-minute presentation because we had planned, actually, we will discuss one seal, then second, then third and fourth. So we will discuss one seal, and Dattatreya seals. I have made a presentation of all his seals together, and not only there 1 or 2 seals, there are 4 or 5 seals which tell about Dattatreya's mantras, Dattatreya stories, and you won't believe it is so crystal clear written that I was shocked, when I looked into it, and it was there so easily available on the internet and everywhere. But very important to just again conclude to your question, Dattatreya tradition started, let's say, in 8000 BC. Parshuram there was in around, let's say, 7000 or 8000 BC. Ramayana was there around 7000 or 8000 BC. And this tradition carried on, and then in between came the Indus Valley. Then again Indus Valley went away, but the tradition again continued, because this tradition is not only around the Indus Valley, as I told you. This is around the Ganges, the Godavari, the Yamuna, and so this tradition was over a very long period.
Can I just say now the time is up? I know the discussion is now very in a crucial stage and very interesting, and viewers would like to see. So what we can do is we will continue this discussion for the next week. We will fix up the time. We will inform everybody, and we will you both will come again, and you can discuss in detail so that now the viewers will understand, because what question Dr. Mishra has asked, how you are going to satisfy her, because after all, it's your breakthrough. You have done so much research. I'm sure you are confident you will definitely do it. And today's program, I'm sure very enlightening, but definitely we have to continue because time is there. So now we have to, because of the time limit. So today's program, which has been live telecasted by V4 News, Global TV, V4 Stream, Malnadu TV, News Gaon Se and Samvad Sarokar News, as well as it was shown live on Facebook and YouTube. Please do watch our program Media Conference with Lal Goyal, because tomorrow, again, we are coming on a very current topic, and that topic is US election and Indo-American relation. And our guests are Dr. C.V. Anand Bose, IAS, one-man expert commission on labor, Government of India, Dr. P.K. Abraham, turnaround strategist and inspiring leader, CEO, Turncoat Paints, Kochi, Dr. Mohanlal Agrawal, President, Indo-Gulf Marketing Association, former professor of marketing, innovation and management, IIM Lucknow, XLRI, Jamshedpur and California State University, USA, and Mr. Arun Lakshman, Director, Center for Policy and Development Studies. So thank you very much, Dr. Puneet Gupta and Professor Dr. Ranjana Mishra for joining and enlightening all of us. And thank you all the viewers. Please do join tomorrow for Media Conference with Lal Goyal at 10:30 a.m. Thank you very much.